All right. So what I want to introduce to you is Marc Strano. Marc has been around the block. Can you believe it? He doesn't look a day over 24 years old. How could that possibly be, right? All right. So a little bit about Marc. Marc is president of SHIFT Leadership Development LLC. And he's held management positions in many industries, including consumer electronics, banking, finance, law, construction, global shipping, retail luxury. Well, he's done it all, right? Okay, sure. So pretty much speaks to every industry, right? He is a talent and development professional, but he has designed, managed, and facilitated executive retreats and leadership development programs for C-suite, director level, and rising leader managers, okay? He does consulting and teaching at Columbia University in New York City and with New Start Career Network. Where have you heard that before? At Rutgers University. He holds a master's degree in international management and finance from Thunderbird School of Global Management and a bachelor's in linguistics and computer science from the University of Rochester. Linguistics, does that mean, Marc, that you can speak more than one language?
It means I used to study that.
Ah, okay, all right. Well, I'm envious of you just on that point. So, all right. Well, welcome, Marc. He is speaking pro bono, and Marc just landed. Woo! And he took time, continues to take time out of his schedule to talk to you. So hopefully you'll get a tidbit or two that you can incorporate into your job search, career planning, business ownership, whatever it happens to be, but he's pretty smart. You want to listen to what he has to say. Take it away, Marc.
Thank you. Thanks, Christine. And I'm all excited. I mean, like literally viscerally, I'm excited to be here. I can't tell you, to see familiar faces and familiar names and some new friends yet to shake hands. So just after that long-winded introduction, I gave Christine all those words. Who's bored already? Raise your hand. Okay.
Really?
Like, okay. No, really, like you're being polite and professional, of course. But there's a point, right, where we turn off, like the 5-second rule on the floor. Okay, I'm not going to eat that. Okay, I'm done listening now. And when I hear something else that's interesting, I'll tune back in, right? So wait till we see what's up for the next few minutes. I've got a ton of slides, lots of colors, lots of movement, lots of animation. But why I'm here is to have a discussion with you. So the slides are just to facilitate moving thoughts forward. And we're going to do a lot of basic, upfront, basic work on how to attend. I mean, if we were in a room together, it'd be awesome. I'd walk among the tables, I'd sit down next to you, we'd have conversations, do different kind of exercises. But here we are, this is a gallery, which is a whole different experience. So I'm going to be as inclusive as possible. And you may be surprised, I may call a couple of names out. Maybe I'll call a couple names out, I'll leave it at that. But I'm relying on this being a discussion. And Christine's going to help facilitate that. Watch the chat window. So please feel free to drop your questions and answers in the chat, and we'll work them into the discussion too. Again, I've got a bunch of stuff to say to you, but it's not going to be the answer. It's going to be the starter of your thinking and your planning what's next. Hopefully with some new thoughts, new perspective, new conversations to have with people after this call. So right now I'm going to give you a slide that's actually going to show you a pencil, but find a pen and paper, because there's an exercise that I want you to write stuff down that you'll take back with you. And also it's great to take notes too. So while I'm yammering on for the next 60 seconds, reach in your drawer to left or right of your desk, find a pencil and paper, really, because that's part of this presentation here, or else you're going to sit there and just listen to me go on and on and on. Okay, so with that, I'll start advancing the slides, sharing the slides. and we'll see what all of us have to bring today. Okay, now I've got a second screen here for the presentation. I can see the deck fully, and I'm going to try and optimize the gallery here too to watch you all for reactions and hands raised. In fact, let me see. Can I do that next? Okay, so just from the title screen, can you all see the title screen, job hunting from the comfort zone? Nods, thumbs, thanks for the thumbs up. Okay, so what did you even like hear in the title? Job hunting from your comfort zone. Is it helping or hindering? What's your first impressions?
It's not good.
Okay, thanks. Okay, Barbara. Okay, yeah, so what's not good? Like that's a pretty immediate and certain reaction. What's behind that?
Well, if you're in your comfort zone, you're just coasting. So you're not reaching out and doing all the things that are possibly uncomfortable that are guaranteed to help.
Okay, good. Okay, so did anybody read the initial, maybe from a week or two ago, that Christine put out there, a little blurb about this, introducing this session about pulling off the highway, getting into the comfort station, into the rest stop? Anybody read those 2 or 3 sentences? Remember what I said? What was the image there? Pulling off the highway, going into the comfort station, the rest stop, rest area. What do you remember about that tiny little paragraph?
And that you were just going back to the same place that you started, something along that lines?
Okay, yeah, so you're on the highway going somewhere, your journey, but then I need to use the men's room, or I need to get a hamburger, or I just need to get off the highway. This traffic is killing me. You know, it's like creeping along at 2 miles an hour. I just got to stop and rest. But if you're doing your job search that way, if you're poised and ready, resting, that, like Barbara said, it's not moving you forward. It may be providing you something, and we're going to get to that, what that, help is, that nourishment, that helpfulness of being able to pull off, but then to get back on the road to the journey itself. So keep that image in mind too, as we go through all these suggestions and different kind of ideas, how to incorporate it that way. I'm not saying don't rest. I'm not saying don't pull off the highway, but when we're on the highway, there's a way to be there and be productive so that it's serving you. Not productive necessarily moving your job search forward, but who knows who you're going to meet in the line, right? If you're networking while you're sitting there having your burger and fries, right? Again, it may be passive active, but we don't want you to become complacent there or to stay too long there before you get back on the road, especially if you know you got a long journey ahead of you, okay? So that's kind of the image here too. And again, we're going to explore helping and hindering. Doesn't mean positive or negative or good or bad. It's just to notice when it's serving you or when it's holding you back or when you're using it to hold yourself back. And I want to make sure that you know the difference. That's part of what we're going to learn today, is that difference between something not being good or bad. Just what is it and how is it, what is it doing for me, helping me or hindering me, okay? So I'm using this little image here of the dashboard control panel to see if the machinery is working. So I'm watching you now on the screen. Give me some love. Show me like a clap or a hand or raise your hand or thumbs up so I can see that you see me. I see that. Okay, good. Yep, I see this. Okay, this is good. Thumbs up. Good. Thank you. I'm going to go to screen 2. People on screen 2. People in the balcony. Also thumbs up. I see that. Good. Love it. Okay, good. Good. Thanks for playing along. That helps me a lot too. Again, to stay connected with you. So this is just a heads up again to get the pencil, pen, get the pen ready and paper. Okay. Who's got, raise your hand. Checking the machinery again. Who's got that ready already? Raise your hand. Thumbs up. Oh, awesome. That's an awesome reaction. Okay, I'm looking for more of that. That's great. Okay. Again, just to take notes, there's an exercise coming up. Okay. So now you'll notice my style already probably, or very soon into these slides, is to be lighthearted, right? This is just us. Close the door. Who do you want to talk about today? I used to say my leadership development. That's how people got into the day. Like, who do we want to talk about? Are you kidding me? Okay, I got a whole list here. So this is confidential. This is just us. We're just going to be talking among friends, and it's going to be easy, okay? Easy, like you don't have to do much, but it might be a little confronting. I'm going to poke you a little bit and take a little liberty and poke you, provoke you a little bit as far as you'll let me. And that's where you have license and I'm going to take license, but you're going to push me back and only go as far as you're comfortable. Okay, nothing crazy, but just as far as the job search is concerned. So here's this slide, kind of that humorous, hopefully, stupid, really more corny. Okay, so here's some lyrics to an old song. At least I remember it being on the radio, under my transistor radio. Who had a transistor radio? Raise your hand. Okay. Okay, some of us. Always more of us. Okay, the transistor radio, okay? And the little turntable. We had record players, right? Turntable.
Absolutely.
33 RPM.
Mark,
what is our?
I'm sorry. Some of us can't hear things in our mind. So is there any way you could hum that so I can figure out what you're trying to say?
Well, I'm going to read it. I don't know if anybody wants to hum it, sing it. Yip, 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 yip is the lyric. Here's the second line. Mum, 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 mum. Doesn't sound like much without the music behind it, right? Anybody know what song I'm leading into? Call it out type. No? I see Lisa's shaking her head. You have no idea, really? Fill in the blank. Get it? Yip, 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 right? Get a job, right? Remember this guy? What's his name?
Yeah.
Bowser, I think, right? So just to be clear, there are alternatives to unemployment, right? One is getting a job. That's where we're going to focus. We're not going to talk about franchising, starting a business, doing something else. We're just talking about employment as one alternative to unemployment. Okay, so that's just to make sure we're all in the right room. And again, we're going to be thinking about stuff. We're going to be thinking about what we're thinking about. And that's where it's get my linguistics, Christine. That's where my philosophy and linguistics come into play, and all that computer programming too. But I'm going to keep it right at like front of your mind. Not deep stuff, stupid stuff, but right at the front of your mind. What makes sense? Common sense. Okay. And that's we're going to poke you a little bit and provoke you a little bit. And the design here, because like here you see I'm flying through these slides. It's only like 2 or 3 words on a slide. To understand better what's going on inside your head, how you're wired, and how that affects what you see or what you're experiencing as you're taking the outside world. Then also to understand the outside world and how the mechanics of that works better, so that you can more easily process it when it comes into your 5 senses and then into your brain, in your mind. And what do I do with this? Okay.
So are you saying, Mark, that everyone is wired differently, and what makes sense to one person might not make sense to another?
Well, given that we each have, right, everybody will, nod and smile big with this. Each of us has our unique background, right? And that's what drives our current perceptions, our current experience of whatever's going on. We might sit in the same room, you're all hearing me say the same words, but you're processing it differently, understanding it differently, interpreting the meaning differently. So yeah, you're right on the money there. Yeah. So there's just the same stuff going on out there, and we have our own story and interpretation and design of what we're going to take or leave and use to our benefit, again, in this helping and hindering fashion. Okay. So again, to kind of set the rules here, there's no ultimate answer for this job search journey, this mystery, right? So we're not going to look for that or find it here. You're not here to listen to my way. I'm going to tell you this is how, or you're doing it wrong. But we're going to discover that there's more than one way. And again, to Christine's question and to the point, there's so many different ways you could be approaching this. We want to find multiple choices. So in case you time out, tire out of one way, you can easily, without much effort, flip into another way, another method, another frame of mind, a different perspective to re-energize you and carry on, like to keep on with a search versus, oh, that didn't work. Oh, that didn't work. And that's not working. So now what do I do? You'll have a ready lineup of different ways, maybe not in your face, but that you can conjure up, that you can create and implement because of your own design. Now, especially if there's so much out there, right? Like there's so many positions you can apply for, right? There's so many opportunities. We keep talking about these opportunities and people getting employed and, the job rate and the statistics and the headlines and all this stuff, right? There's so much going on out there, but it's not like the cornucopia on my table. It's not, in my experience right now, immediately. And Similarly, in this conversation, if you guys have been in one of my presentations before, you'll see I'm going to recycle a couple slides. This is one of them. But do this with your hand. Everybody play along. Do this with your hand. Make it an oculus. I call this a cool thing. This is an oculus. Close one eye and put this up to the open eye and just look around the room. Just give yourself a quick scan. You know where you are and you know what's around you. And this oculus is really, really pretty limiting, right? Okay, so you can put your oculuses away, put it in your pocket, okay? But the idea here is that there's so much going on, so many fruits, so many directions, so many opportunities and things I'm supposed to be doing in my job search, but I can only do one thing at a time. I know all this other stuff is out there and I'm supposed to be like taking advantage of all this great meetings and these opportunity, trainings and all this other stuff, but I can only do it one minute at a time, one task at a time. And this is not like a multitasking kind of thing, like eating a bologna sandwich while you're drying some clothes. That's multitasking.
I love that you said that, Mark, because we are inundated with so much information and technology and do this and this and this. And we start to feel a little guilty that we're not doing enough when we're job searching, because we feel like we have to do everything. And whether it is a speaker such as yourself, Mark, sorry to put you in that category, but I feel like sometimes we're overwhelmed. We all have 24 hours in a day, and yet we can't do everything.
Yeah. Now there's this idea of passive stuff. So you invest your time in some activities and things like email sent out, application sent out, hellos in networking online. Put those out there and wait for people to get back to you. That stuff is passive. You've been active and done that work, those tasks, but that's out there percolating. Those are the clothes drying in the machine while you're out here doing something else actively now, eating a bologna sandwich, whether it's a conversation with somebody or attending a class or taking yet another look and revamping with a fresh eye your resume or cover letter or something, or actively going for a walk, stepping to the window, getting a breath of fresh air, or just actively doing nothing. Like this 5 minutes, my job is to do nothing, like deliberately, actively, let everything else sit still. And that's an activity, is to be able to control yourself, let yourself, give yourself the permission to do nothing. 5 minutes, 10, half an hour, whatever, an hour, an afternoon, Sunday, all Sunday, take a break. That requires act and plan it, put it on your calendar, mark it as something that's check, I've done my free time. That felt good. That really helped me. That really served me. I feel refreshed. And do stuff that you love doing, okay? Don't make that stuff compete with that guilty feeling that Christine mentioned, where I should be doing, I have to be doing. If I'm not doing something, then nothing's getting done. This is, again, how to justify your job search strategy and have multiple prongs.
I talked to somebody last week and they said that they had an appointment with their elliptical. And I was like, what? And she wrote it on her calendar so she didn't miss that time working out. And when we start to write down all those things on the calendar, we feel productive, but we are not missing out that scheduled time either. I think that's a great point, Mark.
And it could be anything. It could, like I said, out in the fresh air. It could be a crossword puzzle. It could be doodling. It could be sitting at the piano. Maybe you don't even play the piano, but maybe sitting at the piano. What would the world look like that way? I don't have any business at the piano. But what if you sat at the piano? What if you like started doing something on paper at the piano without hitting the keyboard once? That would make a whole shift in your whole world, right? Who does that? That's just weird. And that, Mark, that's just weird. But it certainly would shake things up, right? Like that's not your usual environment. So again, we're trying to connect the dots here to create new thoughts and new connections that are going to stimulate you and maybe find yet another, again, not the way, but maybe another way that'll energize you and move you forward. Okay. So again, in that last comment, this is trying to build a new foundation. We're trying to reestablish your foundation. I know you're smart, educated, intelligent, experienced. I know it, and I love you. It's awesome that you've all come here, and at this point in your life, in your career, here we all are together today. It's Tuesday. Today's Tuesday, right? We're creating a new foundation, right? It's fresh, it's a little wet and sticky, and still there are pitfalls in our human design, right? We're going to keep comparing ourselves to each other. Well, look at so-and-so's progress, or I just hope so-and-so landed, or, they got 3 interviews this week and they're bragging about it. Well, really, okay, good for them. Really, I should say good for them. That's great. But what about me? When's my turn really? When do I get to, So that's one of our human pitfalls, that we can't not compare, okay? So you have to be mindful of that too, and acknowledge it, use it. What does that serve? It keeps us spurred on to bigger and better, or what's next, right? That's the competition. I got it, me too. But don't let that hinder you. Don't let that get you down or miss the celebration of somebody else who has landed, or somebody else who's doing something else. Even if you're on the same track or vying for the same thing, maybe even a colleague applying for the same position. So that's another thing to keep in mind here too, because that stuff doesn't go away. And it drives me crazy. I'm going to be a little scatological here. That shit drives me crazy. Like, I can't get rid of that stuff. It just won't leave. But if I recognize when I'm doing it versus like this thing that's just happening as like life, right? But if I know, oh my gosh, there I am doing my thing again. Okay, take a breath. Okay, I can do it for 3 seconds, 30 seconds, maybe 3 minutes, but don't take 3 hours to get over it. Just recognize it, move on, okay? Because then you'll have that much more time to do something productive.
I think that is part of just being a human. No matter who you are or where you are in life, in job search, you landed, you have your own business. It doesn't really matter. We have a tendency to compare ourselves to other humans and their accomplishments. Hence the whole social media depression thing. And people are like, oh, I want nothing to do with LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever, because I start comparing their accomplishments to mine, and you should be comparing yourself to you.
Okay, yes. Yeah. So there's different ways to do it. And if you're watching, if it's overboard in one direction, only focusing on me and missing the boat, missing the cues, or only focusing on different people and missing the boat, not focusing on your accomplishments, baby steps, or milestones that you've reached, that would be the sad part, because you'd be missing something.
Yes.
And to this cartoon here on the slide now, right? If you have read it already, here's the caption at the bottom. Sometimes we're too smart for our own good, like shortcuts or workarounds, or I know how, or I've seen this before, or I can do this faster, or something. Sometimes we do ourselves in by not going through the grind, okay? Now, I don't want to put your nose against the grindstone, but sometimes a job search doesn't work like that, and here's why. If we cross over mathematics with a job search, we're going to get a bit in the butt, okay? So in math, if you're in first grade and we're talking arithmetic, what is the answer to this question? 1 + 1 equals?
2.
Chime in. 2, right? Okay, right? Anybody have a different answer? Okay, I see no smiles. Okay, good. So that's just checking, right? I'm checking. Okay, so now in the job search world, sometimes we treat it like it's math. So if we say 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 in math, we get it one answer. But in the job search world, in our mind, with the actions that we've actually done, steps we've taken, days that have passed, we're adding up, we might get 2, maybe. And that stuff drives me crazy, right? Because it's not math. Cause and effect, this I put in, this I should get out, or I've done this many, this should be enough. This should be working, but it's not working. It's not getting you the results you're looking for. And that's the stuff that lingers in our human design, and it just kind of spins along, drives us crazy. And then we see great, beautiful stuff, awesome, cool stuff like this, right? Oh, look at this opportunity. Maybe I'll move to New York. Look in the lower left, there's New York's logo, right? Their Department of Labor. They got 161,000 jobs. That's awesome. But that stuff drives me crazy too, because that's not the answer. That's just like commercial stuff. That's like what? Propaganda. Not in a negative political way, but it's just like, some message. If we buy into that, like comparing, well, that's not me, or how come I can't, or how come I'm not one of those numbers, that, is, vying for one of those jobs. Again, that's where we start to drag ourselves down, shoot ourselves in the foot. And stuff we find ourselves doing over and over, continually doing these things over and over, and not really rising, not really getting anywhere, not really feeling like I'm progressing. And that stuff drives me crazy. Okay, so you see in all these different ways, subtle or blatant, over and over again, sometimes daily, sometimes hourly, they beat us in the head. Okay, here's another thing, a little stupid little joke.
as Lisa points out in the chat box, and that's a perfect reason why we need some downtime and we need to reflect and just have 5 minutes of quiet time so we can see that that wheel is going to be beneficial than the rocks.
So now, that little slide was a test, right? So
Yes.
The first half of the slide was 4 seconds. The second half of the slide took 14 seconds. That's all, less than 20 seconds, right?
Mm-hmm.
But who stopped, like, oh my God, Mark, enough. Okay, we get the joke. I get the message, I know. But like, enough already, right? Okay, so same thing with your job search. Like, really, oh my God, enough time already. Enough interviews, enough networking. I just need to get this paycheck thing handled, right? Raise your hand if you know Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Anybody heard that model, psychological thing, self-actualization, basic fundamental, food, water, shelter kind of thing? For some of us, that's real life. That's not a model. My career, I'll confess to you, my career went within a couple short years from being a business leader and a thought leader at the top of my game to being evicted. And my car was repossessed. And looking like, I don't know what's next. I really don't know what's going to happen. That's no business model. That's not psychology. That's like my life. So wherever you are on your scale, wherever you are in the process, know that I recognize it as really real. And that's why I'm doing this presentation for you, because I want you to, in that visceral and that really real way, know that there are answers and there are ways to move your way through and keep yourself, moving up the, oh, I'm not gonna do that again, because that stuff drives me crazy, okay? So here's the message for today. I'm gonna check in a couple points in the slides that we've already gone through. I don't know how many, a couple dozen slides already, right? There's more. I don't want to leave you feeling like this. If you start to feel like this, like I'm numbing you, like you're glazing, it's like glazed over, I'm watching you. But if you feel like you need to raise your hand and say, Mark, you lost me, I don't know what's going on, do that. Because my focus is to have you leave at each juncture of our conversation, 3 parts. And at the end, this feeling today, not this, our little buddy, but I want you to feel like this, okay? So here we're gonna launch into the 3 main parts of the program. We're gonna cover some more basics, not just groundwork and framework, but basics of the job search, boundaries, which is part of the problem or the opportunity, and then the breakthroughs. What's up with these breakthroughs? And how can I get me some of them? Okay. So how are we so far? Everybody take a breath. Sit back, sit up, relax, take a breath, breathe in. Everybody breathe in with me. Nice 1, 2, 3, then breathe out. We can kind of regroup, okay? I know there was a lot of talking. I heard myself talk a lot to set us up. You still with me? Let me see some thumbs up or a wave or, okay, good. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. All right, so the basics. We made it, okay? 2020 is done, right? We're in 2021. Hoop-de-doo, right? We got more problems, more things to deal with, unfamiliar stuff, like new strategies. Like I thought it was supposed to be done. I thought it was supposed to be handled 2021. We could all just take a break and move on, right? You close that chapter. But we're still in this VUCA world. Who's heard this expression before? Anybody raise your hand or want to come off mute? You want to tell me what this stands for, VUCA? It's not a new term, but it's certainly come into the mainstream in the last, it's actually a military term from the 1980s, I think, originally.
Chat box, come on, guys. Anything? Nobody?
Not all of them, maybe one of them.
You guys are quiet. I think you need more coffee. Do they need more coffee?
Crazy world, the chaos, the confusion.
I know.
And Christine, all those C things, all those C words.
Yes.
Okay, so that stands for volatile. So it's talking about the world or the chaos and confusion out there, okay, that you're dealing with in this job search, which is broken. Okay, admittedly in the headlines, and we all say our experience of it is that this job search system is broken, okay? So against the backdrop of the world also being, the headlines being volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous, each have a different sense, right? That's not new either, that's like human history. But here we are, how are these things expressed today? What do you observe today? How are these affecting you today and my job search? This VUCA stuff, that's the situation. Now,
that is one of the most important slides that you have going on there, Mark.
So that's one version. Now, some overachievers thought, I'm not going to sit with that. I'm going to like reinvent that. I'm going to make another VUCA 2.0, right? They got like an alternative, right? So this is awesome. This is actually pretty cool. So what if We reinterpreted VUCA to mean having vision, understanding, clarity, and agility, right? They gotta have some overachievers out there, right? Fortunately, this crossed my path. So what if you got off your bed, off your pillow every morning in the right side of the screen instead of the left side of the screen? Or you went to bed feeling that you had a day full of the right side of the screen instead of the left side of the screen, right? Sometimes we're just left with or stuck with that left side. I get it. Things are out of our control, or they're bigger than we are. We don't even know what's going on with it. But there are things that we do have some influence and control over, and we can choose, we can decide along the path, okay? So that's where we hit the comfort zone now. Here we are into the main problem. There are things that we gotta do out there and things we get to do. And admittedly, they're outside our comfort zone. There's stuff we strive for, we look for, they catch our attention, and we want some of that. But here we are in our comfort zone, right? And striving or looking, but there's actually a barrier. Or we'd be doing it. There wouldn't be a line. We'd just be doing this stuff, right? We'd already have the stuff. We'd be going after it, no problem. But there's actually a thing. There's a thing. And it separates us from the stuff we don't want, can't, don't know, to the stuff we do. As unsatisfying sometimes as that is, it's familiar, and I know how to do this bad stuff. I know how to do this crazy stuff. I know what this feels like. I'm used to that. I don't know what the other crazy stuff feels like. I don't want to go there. So we stay over here with this crazy stuff, my crazy stuff, right? And that's like more the mouth, the wheel turning in your head, the crazy stuff. And everybody says, but that's where the magic happens. That's where all the cool stuff is. You got to go. Just go do it. Don't break through. Okay. Well, how come you haven't? Or what do they mean by that? Or how stupid are they? They'll stop saying stuff like that. That's stupid stuff, right? But if we play our cards right today, we will have expanded. I will show you new perspective, some new opening or access where the stuff you got to do and the stuff you get to do just becomes stuff you do, right? It's not like the barrier anymore. Now you got new barriers, bigger, further barriers into where other magic stuff you can pursue later. But again, we can take it one chunk at a time. Remember a little Oculus. We can take it one step at a time, bite-sized chunks. We're going to focus here, right at this point, where your nose bumps up against your comfort zone, and you run away. You run back, scurry back into the middle of your circle. Like, no, not today. No, I can't. Not now. Okay, so that's where I'm going to provoke you and push you a little bit. So in the real world, consider yourself primitive, or we're just people, right? We have power in our physicalness, right? We get things done using sheer force, might, right? Move stuff from A to B. I push stuff, I can pull stuff. I can lift stuff, I can put stuff over here and over there, right? And that has limitations. We can do all this stuff ourselves, but I'm bound by my what? You imagine as a physical being. What are you limited by as a your musculature and your skeletal and stuff like that? What are you limited by?
Anyone? I'm telling you, they need more coffee.
Failure.
Failure. Okay.
Well, it could be failure. We're going to get to feel a failure. Yes. Keep that in mind. That's a good one. But just as a physical thing, like I can only reach this far. I can only lift so much.
How about time? Time constraints. I mean, you only have so many hours, right?
Exactly, right? So given those limitations, that's when we have to go to other people. So now we're talking about communication and community. And what resides out there is not the physical world. We don't do physical stuff out there. We have requests, we have conversations, we have discussions, and we make promises and commitments. And that's how stuff gets done in community, through communication, right? That's how we make a difference out there through these two different tools, the physical world and the communication world. At the same time, the world is having an impact on us in those ways too. You got to do this, or you do this or else, or if you do this, then this will happen. Here's an opportunity for you. Do you want it? And at the same time, it's having an impact on us with bounds, or struggle and break and getting over, and success and achievements and stuff like that in the physical world, right? Considering the Olympics or whatever, sports or other accolades. All these things are like building blocks now from when we're really, really young. Building blocks. Consider what that means. That's what we base our decisions on. Everything we know is what we've experienced, period. Everything we know is what we've experienced, okay? Now, in our really, really young years, we rely on those people who we know, recognize, trust, who we like. We depend on them, and that gives us certain opportunities and boundaries too. But that happens through our adolescence, puberty, adolescence, our teenage years, junior high school, senior high school. Some of us go on to college or our first job. We got our first romance, first relationship, our first boss, first accomplishments, achievements as a young professional, right? We're learning things, learning lessons, making decisions and choices along the way too as building blocks. So when you're 30-something, you look back at a 20-year-old, or you're 40 and you look back at your 15-year-old. Are you bound by the same things, the same structures, socially? No, as a fully fledged adult, right? Mentally? No, you've grown. Physically? No, you've grown. Spiritually? No, you've grown. But we find ourselves still locked into those decisions we made when we were only 4 feet tall and we couldn't reach the top shelf. Or we don't go out with those people, we don't hang out with them because they're mean, or that those people did mean stuff to me. Or I'll never go into that store because they treated me like, crap. This is like ordinary stuff. We make decisions and that reinforces our comfort zone or our limitations and these boundaries. And every time the world comes at us again from a different angle, if you look at this picture, it's like, what the heck? No. What the heck? No. This is not the way it's supposed to be. And you look at it more and more, and you start to figure out, yeah, I get it. Okay, I get the point. Yeah. 4 seconds, 14 seconds. Okay, Mark, I get it, right? Okay, move on. But here's the thing. As soon as I make it right, like there's a physical relief, like, oh my God, that was hard. It was horrible. So let me just put this back as a reminder. Like, this is not the way things should be. And you act that way too with your job search or other things in your life. This is not the way stuff should be. It's uncomfortable. It's not good. It's not right. Until you find the moment like, oh, okay, my God, I can breathe now, right? That's like a real experience for us. And is it 14 seconds, weeks, months that we've been out of work looking for the next job? 2 years, longer for some of us? I get it. So that's how uncomfortable life could be until it becomes right, okay? Checkpoint. Okay, are you with me? You guys still good? I know I'm putting you really through the ringer here. I'm like really pushing your nose up again. But raise your hand or a heart. Somebody give me a heart on the screen or a thumbs up or something. I want to see a little bit of screen one. Okay, got the waves. Thank you for the thumbs up. I got it. Thank you. Screen one, screen two. People in the balcony. I love it. Okay, thank you. Okay, remember, this is what we're driving toward. This is where we're going. Boundaries and barriers. Okay. So now what? So what's up, Mark? So what the heck is next? Okay. So here's the standard issue. We talked about this human nature, like 10 fingers, 10 toes, right? Most of us, I'll say. I don't want to sound too politically incorrect these days, right? So I don't know. Does everybody have 10 toes? I don't know. But I'm just using it as an expression. Okay. So I'm going to move on. Like that, we also have blind spots. Who can come off mute and tell me what you think these blind spots are? What do we mean when we say blind spot? Or type it in chat. What do we mean when I say, oh, that's a blind spot, or he's got a blind spot, or that's a blind spot for her? It means what?
You basically can't see it for what it is.
In a literal figurative sense, we can't see it. And how come? Like, what's the notion of that? Why is that?
I think it goes with your mindset.
Okay, it's like the fish swimming in water. Like the fish doesn't know it's swimming in water until you pull it out, right? It starts flapping around like, this is not right. That map should be upside down, right? Put me back in the water, and then it's like, okay, I'm back. Okay, I'm back in the water. So I
like Alicia's comment. She's like, we can't get past ourselves. We're so in the way of what we're doing that we're not really paying attention to our surroundings. And that's hindering that growth.
Yeah. But I also think people have blind spots because seeing something will make you feel uncomfortable or inferior, and therefore it's much easier if you just put your blinders on.
Yeah, we don't even want to, like, blinders.
You don't want to see it.
I was like, I didn't want to see it, right? Absolutely. And we just carry on. We just continue on. Absolutely. Thank you, Gabrielle. Absolutely. Good comments. Good comments, everybody. So that's like a force, right? Like, that's a force. Like, what's another force? I just kind of played with here with this little image floating up. What's another force of nature that we can't argue with?
Gravity.
Gravity, right? It's that simple, right? We work with it. We found ways to use it. So we've overcome it some way, but it's still there. It still keeps our feet on the ground, literally, right? Sometimes we're challenged by it when there's that black patch of black ice we didn't see, and now we're like doing that drum roll in midair until we hit the bottom, right? So this is that built in. That's this force. These boundaries are built in. Watch my little friend here on 4 legs. Get in the house, bark, wag a tail, door opens, I get in, okay? I got to get out. Bark, wag the tail, wait, door opens, I get to go out. But the dog is seeing the master is walking through. There's no door there. But he still has to wait for the door to be opened. That's how I get in and out of the house. Now, I don't know dog psychology or just classic conditioning and psychology, but we do the same thing. We do this. How do you do this? Those are our blind spots. I've got mine for sure. Some people point them out to me happily, like, you know what, Mark? It's easier for us to see other people's blind spots and point them out to them sometimes. It's not as easy for us to hear that for ourselves.
So basically what you're saying, Mark, is that taking an example from our chat, we put ourselves in a box, and the box is like the dog being indoors or outdoors, but we're not barking to let our box open or get outside of it.
Right. When we don't even need the box to be open for us. We don't even need to be barking like, hey, let me out. You don't even need to like the help.
Bark. Yeah.
You can
There's
go
no
out.
glass. There's no glass in the door.
Yeah.
Yes.
But that's like a blind spot for the dog, even though the master is coming in and out of the environment, right? So, but that's how weird and how obvious sometimes in hindsight, maybe, or in retrospect, we might learn a lesson, or we see it sometimes so easily with other people, but not for ourselves. Okay. So, and the effect of that could be that we might be sabotaging ourselves. Sometimes we know we are, we just keep doing it. Sometimes we don't even know we're doing it, right? So I'm going to do like a quick one-liners from history, from philosophy, from arts and entertainment, okay? Bear with me. See if you recognize these lines. To do is to be. To be is to do. To be or not to be. Do be, do be, do. Okay. So there's a little focus here on being and doing, which leads me to the next slide. Being and doing gives us what we have, the results, the outcomes that we have in life, right? How we be and how we do. Let's go back. Things we do or don't do give us the results we have. Get that? How we be, how we're acting, our frame of mind, what our mood is, drives what we do or don't do many times. And consequently, that gives us the results we have, okay? So again, to backtrack or fast track, again, our attitude or mindset, how we be about things gives us our actions, our behaviors, or inactions, and then we have these results or outcomes. That's just how it goes, right? Okay, so if we're industrious, if you wake up and you're industrious one day, you're going to do certain things aligned with industrious, and then you're going to have those results, things that are line up with being industrious. That's great, something we can follow. What if you're diligent? He's diligent today. She's diligent today. She's going to be doing certain things that are in the flavor and the tone and the mood of being diligent. And you're going to get stuff done because so-and-so was diligent, right? In a different sense, if you're being resistant, you can imagine what's next, right? We're going to be resisting things. I'm going to be doing or not doing certain things, and I'm going to have those results, right? Not the same results as if I were being industrious, but if I'm being resistant or dismissive, right? I'm going to be doing or saying or feeling certain things that are going to make me, produce results that are dismissive. Like if I don't go to the meeting because I don't want to go to the meeting again, well, then you're not going to see who was at the meeting or the opportunity to shake hands or hear something that could have turned everything around. You don't know, but you were dismissive. Those are the results you're going to get today. And as you can imagine, if you start to categorize these, they start to have their own little trajectory, right? Categorically, and produce results in certain ways. Okay, and you can probably feel that way for yourself, maybe voluntarily or involuntarily, but you can probably witness them for yourself and how your life goes. Now, talk about being, there might be not 4, but maybe 400 in this little model, 400 ways of being, moods, attitudes, emotions, feelings, pick one. They come and go. They don't all have to do with job search either. They could be about your 5-year-old person, your 15-year-old person, that person, your first romance. Those decisions come up when they're stimulated again today with modern job search. You don't know why. They come, they go, 5 seconds, 15 seconds, 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 days, 5 years. You've been dwelling in this thing. Those things are going to give you what you're going to be doing, right? Because of how you're feeling. And then no wonder you're producing the results you're producing. I heard a seminar leader one year say, he was like the successful serial business owner, like entrepreneur, multi-billion dollars, and he's leading seminars. And he said, I decided I wanted to learn how to play golf, and I suck at playing golf. So I hired a pro, and he followed me around, and we just played golf. And he said, it's amazing. You've mastered that shot. He said, what are you talking about? It's in the woods. Every time I hit the ball, it goes in the woods. He said, I know. You've mastered that shot. The ball always goes where you hit it. The ball always goes where you hit it. And this billionaire is like, what? He said, if you hit the ball another way, it would go somewhere else. You want to try that? and like this light went on, and I never forgot his sharing that, because that was such a lesson for me. Like, the ball always goes where you hit it. You get the results you produce because how you're being and what you do. It's that simple. It's that simple. Okay. So now you're talking splitting hairs, Mark, right? But let's see how fast. Let's see how on and off this can be, right? Pre-COVID, let's pretend you're in line, a little pissed off. This is taking too long. What the heck is going on up there at the front of the line, right? Then it's your turn. They hang up the phone. They look up, and now you're making eye contact with the person behind the counter. It's like, can I help you? And you can either be the person who is, yeah, I'm someone who's been standing in here for line for the last 20 minutes. You can help me. Or you can be, yes. Oh my gosh, I'm finally here. Yes, I got a question. I need some help today. Like, that was 20 minutes. Can you let that go and be one way? Or are you going to take it 20 minutes and have it last through that whole interaction? And you might get different results at the end of those conversations, you can imagine, based on how that person's going to receive you, how well they're trained. But that's like an everyday example. Now, how fast are we able to recover, recuperate, reset, or whatever? And move on with the next thing, the thing that we got to do. Little saying here, there's a fine line between being in a rut and being in the groove. One you want to get out of, the other one you want to stay in. Kind of fun. But back to our comfort zone and the job search. Okay, I'm going to say there are 3 main things to do in your job search. Okay, to get the stuff we got to do, get through that stuff, and also get to the stuff we want to. Okay, there's people to know, the right people, strategic people, important people, people in the right places. Having the right conversations with those people, places to work, target companies, favorite industries, future-oriented, companies with good leadership, places to work, and the professional skills to develop. Those are 3 main components. The latest technology, honing up my public speaking skills, my critical thinking skills, team building, professional skills you can add to your resume. You can show certifications or talk about different things in your interviews, right? These are the 3 main things that I'm going to say comprise your job search. And you keep doing that, do a little more of that, do this again. It's Thursday, did that on Monday, did it on Tuesday, doing it again on Thursday, doing it on Friday, right? And I keep doing the same stuff right up against my comfort zone. Got that handled, no problem. Do it again, do it again, do it again. Right inside my comfort zone. I know how to do this stuff. And then there's a point. And it starts to look a little uncomfortable and inflamed. Like, okay, I'm tired of meeting these people. I don't know where else to look for my employers. I don't know what else I can study. I'm done with these online courses, and I'm doing them over and over again. And you're still pushing your nose up against the comfort zone, right? And it's looking this way. It's inflamed, like it's not comfortable. It's like not productive, and it's just a horrible experience. All inside your comfort zone now. It's getting a little crowded in there, right? Not much comfort. And that's the stuff, again, remember a little friend here, drives you crazy because it's not going away. There's no end to that stuff. That's the stuff that keeps going on. That's why it's really annoying and unproductive and unsatisfying to be here, because there's no end to that stuff. There's no solution to that stuff. And we're going to be talking about the solutions, how to arrest that, how to stop that and get on with it and be productive.
I love your examples, Mark, because just seeing those words over and over and over again is very symbolic to people doing the exact same thing and getting no results. Always teaching from me. If it's not working for you, 6 weeks later, you need to change something and try something different, something new. In our chat box, are you only applying through ATS? Is that working out for you? Well, some people it is. If it's not for you, then maybe you need to expand your comfort zone and try something new. I think that is a great example, Mark.
That's great to hear. Thank you. I didn't say this at the top, but this whole conversation, this hour together, this time we're spending together and all the words coming out of my mouth, whatever you latch onto, that's not the end of this conversation. It's not going to be the answer. Like this, I'm alluding to this, like this stuff's going to keep going. This is all leading up to the end of the hour. And then now what do? That's the start of another whole thing. Maybe a seminar, maybe a coach, and maybe a revamp of your job strategy, maybe, a whole new conversation with Christine, whole bunch of different, but this is today's conversation. This is not the answer you're looking for.
Yes.
This is the start of what thinking about, and make sure you have your pencil and pen, paper ready, because that's the start of what's next after today. Okay. So there's a point, right? When you're on this thing, like I got to find some equilibrium, and it's not about the job search anymore. It's about you. The equilibrium is now about you, because you're all thrown off now with all this, stuff that's not working, this stuff's not happening, and I'm not the thing, I'm not what they want. That's you in your head. That's all you stuff, not job search stuff anymore. So you got to come back to your center, your equilibrium, and again, not bad, not wrong, but is your comfort zone where you're finding comfort off the highway, or is that leading to complacency? And now you feel like you're not even being effective anymore. So again, I'm just throwing the words out there for you to consider. Where are you with these words? Comfort and or complacency, helping or hindering, right? And if it turns into survival, your brain, literally the neurons, how your brain works is going to turn into short circuiting. You're now into survival mode, and you can't make decisions and have smart conversations and plan or answer questions in an interview if you're like, holy shit, I gotta get this job. Like if you're all wound up and wrapped up around the pole about getting this job, that's where you're operating from, is this survival thing in the savannah. Competing for food in the wild, or avoiding being eaten by the next wild animal that's bigger than you, right? That stuff is still in our brain. Of these neurological scientists, they're talking about this stuff now, and it's arresting, it's compromising our thinking, executive functioning brain, decisions, planning, smartness, intelligence, options, opportunities, go out there, like creating something. You can't operate in two different places at the same time in your brain. Your blood's either focusing over here or it's going here, like this holy shit kind of a thing. Like, oh, I can't. They won't. It's not, So again, checking the comfort and complacency. Where's your balance? And you've got to find your equilibrium to come back to yourself, so you're not in survival or panic or that VUCA, affected by the VUCA stuff, right? And then you're going to start short circuiting. And of course, nothing's going to work then. You're just going to get total results that you didn't want. Okay. And that's this sense, like this moment. You can probably get a sense of what this means if you go back to your playground, your days on the playground, right? You probably sense what this means. How do I reestablish who I am, and juggling all these things, right? Okay, check in. How are you doing? Thumbs up, hands up. I see a couple waves. Okay, thanks, Barb. Good, thanks, Nelson. Okay, good.
Jim stepped out of his comfort zone. He said he landed by sending a cold email to the CEO. That was not in his comfort zone. He was used to doing his job search the same old ways and wasn't getting anywhere. And by doing something different, he was able to actually land. And
what a great thing.
I bet you feel pretty good about that, Jim. I don't know where you're at, but I'm like, woohoo! There's a lot of comments. Story. People are jealous of you.
Story. But it's a great example, right?
Yeah.
Now, do you start that as a strategy? We're going to get to that in the next couple of slides.
Right.
Is that something you start doing? Like that's like a new strategy outside my comfort zone, but now I've done it. This time it worked.
Yes.
But is that something I can start doing as like a little outside my comfort zone, but I can do that.
And add it to your comfort zone into that circle. So you're doing it all the time, getting used to it and getting the results from it. Yes.
Right. Okay. All right, so let's everybody sit up or sit back, take a breath, okay? Let's take a deep breath. 1, 2, 3, ready? 1, 2, 3, and let it go. Let go, feel refreshed. We're gonna go into the last part of our presentation here, the last few slides, okay? Remember, this is where we're going. This is where I'm taking you, okay? So now this is you're going to be marveled at my PowerPoint skills on this slide. I'm going to jam pack this slide. You're going to throw up, I promise you, okay? Play along, get your pencil and paper. This is the exercise time. Get your pencil and paper, ready? Okay, we're going to have some fun with you here. But this is the crux, this is the turning point here in our conversation. Draw a little table here, 3 rows by 3 columns, 3 by 3, like this. It's pretty easy to do. Okay. In the top left, remember those 3 things I said were part of the job search: people to know, target companies, and professional skills, right? Put people to know in the top left there and write 1 or 2 things that you do. What are 2 things, 1 or 2 things that you're doing now in your job search to get to know strategic people, the right people, different people, new people? What are you doing? 1 or 2 things in your job search activities. Write those things. Okay, now on the bottom of that same column left, write 2 things, 1 or 2 things you're not doing. You know these things, you try them and you stop doing them, or you don't wanna, or you don't like that kind of stuff, so you're not doing those things. But you know they're part of finding new people, the right people, strategic people, different people. Write 1, maybe 2 things there. Okay, now this is where I'm shutting up for a couple seconds, and I need you to jump into the call. I need you to answer here. Come off mute and say 1 or 2 things that you are doing. And in listening, if someone says something you haven't written down on the paper yet, write that down. Oh, I'm not doing that. Oh, I'm not doing that. Just for the exercise, I'm not going to hold you to doing those things, but just as new stuff that you're still not doing, that other people are doing, right? Okay, so who wants to come off mute and just say 1 or 2 things you are doing, and if it's not yours, write it down as something you're not doing. A little convoluted, but play with me. 732, go.
So this is Gabrielle.
Oh. All right, so this is George, Mark. So like when I need to find the HR hiring manager for a specific company, the job I'm applying for, it doesn't always work, but I'll just like look at the company on LinkedIn and email maybe an employee there, someone, and then ask them like, who should I send my cover letter to?
Okay, good. Okay, so give me
know,
that in like,
it doesn't always work, but yeah.
Reaching out to new people online or something, right? New companies, new people at new companies. Good, good, awesome answer. Good, thanks, George. Who else? Who's got something they do?
So this is Gabrielle. I am connected to a lot of folks in LinkedIn. So I will see who my connections are, reach out to that person that I know, give them a copy of my resume, and see if they can also get it into the person at the company that they know. Great. As a referral, go in like an employee referral.
Beautiful. Thank you, Gabrielle. Okay, now listeners, who still doesn't know how to operate? Who's not a master of LinkedIn yet? If you shy away from, okay, good, fine, but write that down. If you're not doing LinkedIn optimally, write that down as something you're not doing. Just as a matter of fact, not like a tease or a promise of something I'm going to make you do. Just, oh, no.
You're not going to knock on their door and make them do this?
I promise. You might, Christine, but I won't.
No, I won't. I promise I won't.
Okay, let's get one more. Let's get one more person off mute to say things you're doing. This is what I do to meet new people or get to know the right people.
This is Sam.
Yeah. Hey, Sam.
Extending what was previously said, I've on occasion will reach out to some of the groups I'm in, either based on geography or the industry, to try and see if someone in that group has a connection into the firm.
Okay, good. Yeah, so groups. So you've taken action and signed up for whatever groups, geographically or professionally or industry or whatever, online or social even, right? And then you'll take the moment and connect with them, reach out to them in one way or another. Good, awesome.
Sam, can can I ask you a little bit more information? Is that groups on LinkedIn or networking groups in general that you're part of?
It would be groups in general. It is groups in general, but I was specifically thinking about LinkedIn. It's because it's going back and forth in its commitment to it from LinkedIn's side. People have shied away from it, but I think it's well worthwhile to, it's another avenue. You can't be connected to the world, but you can ask questions of groups of which you participate.
Thank you, Sam.
Yeah, and those are within your reach, right? Those are there with you, actually, by virtue of having signed up with them already. Facebook, I'm going to throw out Facebook. Clubhouse, I'm going to throw that out now. The new recent Clubhouse. If you're not doing those things, you might want to write those down as, nope, don't do Facebook. Nope, don't do groups on Facebook.
Toastmasters suggested.
Yeah, Toastmasters, good. Okay, good. So you can probably tell where this is going now. So the next column, places to work. Target companies, target employers, new industries, or your industry. What are you doing about them? Finding them, interacting with them. Write those one or two things that you're doing in the realm of finding target employers or having them know you. Let them know that you're around. Right? One or two things you're doing, and then also one or two things you're not doing. You know that things exist. You could be doing these things. Other people are doing these things. I just don't do that.
Somebody had mentioned in the chat, they sent letters to company HR departments introducing themselves and the skills that they're bringing to the table.
Good. So if you're not doing that, everybody else, write that down. Jot that down as one of the things you're not doing. It was a great example. Great example. What's one more example? Take one more, and I want to keep this moving because I know it's kind of convoluted. I want to relieve you.
Anyone? I'm already exhausted, Mark. I don't know.
Okay. I know. I'm really wringing your brains. I understand that.
Thinking like, wow.
But here's the thing. I'm being the one today that's going to take you out of your comfort zone just by virtue of making you listen for an hour or more.
Right.
Versus, oh, this was a nice half-hour chat. Thank you. Goodbye. I'll go back to my routine. Okay. Yes. So that's who I am today. And I'm taking responsibility for that. But this is another example. Stick with me. Okay. Now I'm going to get a little edgy. Okay. So stick. That's great, Christine. Thanks for saying so, because that's a great point. That's a great point. I may be a little overworked, a little, convoluted, Mark. Thank you. But the more you hear, there's more likelihood that you're going to find some hook that'll be new for you that you can use and take away today versus the same old stuff, the same resume redo, the same networking thing, the same LinkedIn thing.
I think the key is baby steps, like you said earlier.
Yeah, there's a ton of that here. Okay, so do the same thing with professional skills. Okay, write one or two things down. One or two things you're doing to enhance your professional skills, your marketability, your upskilling, your attractiveness, your marketability. And then a couple things you're not.
Ooh, I like this. Read articles about best practices to work, internal reviews from employees, Glassdoor, Indeed, etc., just to get feedback on their corporate culture.
Now, even those names, Glassdoor, who goes there? If you don't do that, write that down. Something you're not doing.
And there's so many boards out there to get information.
That's for sure. Okay. All right, put your pencils down for a moment. Put your pencils down. So here's the story. Here's why I'm having you do this. The stuff you're not doing and you know about might be part of your comfort zone or this complacency. And it comes from a history, which somebody mentioned earlier. Here's where it's coming in. That history you have, that fear of rejection, or I've done that before and it didn't work. I tried it over and over again, Mark. Yes, I did. I was diligent and stuck with it long enough and it didn't work out. Or like I just had this thing I had to overcome, or this thing I had to fight with, or thing that was just not in my in the stars, like outside my comfort zone. Yes, I tried it and I fought and I lost. Whatever that history is, again, we're focusing specifically on history. That's finite. That's not going away. All of us have failed at something. This is where that resides. All those things of your last week, last month, last year, 10, 20 years ago, job search. those things in your history, the building blocks, remember, with the force, the might, and then the conversations, the community and communications, those fade into your background. They just become stuff we say. I don't know how to do that. I'm not good at that. I don't like to. I don't want to. I can't, And then people say, how come you're not doing so-and-so? So-and-so's doing whatever. Haven't you tried that? Some people who are employed, right? They don't know. What do you mean you're still unemployed? Haven't you tried such and such? Haven't you whatever? Now you say one of these things in red because it's easy and it's ready, it's practiced, right? And they're not going to challenge you. They're not going to call you on that. Well, why are you stopping there? They're not going to call you on that because they got their own red flag. They're in collusion. They're not even going to talk about this stuff that's going to get you past your comfort zone because they're not doing their own thing, getting out of their comfort zone. It's easy to be in your comfort zone, right? I don't have to unless, oh my God, I'm at the bottom of Maslow's hierarchy. Okay, what the heck am I going to do? Okay, so this stuff then rises from the background into the very, very foreground and becomes where our nose bumps up against the comfort zone, right? That's where that circle is, our comfort zone. That's the stuff, the fine print that's in your comfort, the barrier of your comfort zone. Okay, so let that in for a second, because it's not unnatural, it's not mysterious, it's not like superhuman, it's just this basic, mundane, rotten, stupid, history stuff, which we all have, okay? And we still got to get to the breakthrough section, so don't be too down. Just I want you to recognize it. I want you to feel bad. Just recognize it, okay? Because here's the challenge. Here's the challenge. What if you took one thing from the bottom row and moved it to the neutral zone in either of these three columns? Or if you took one thing and considered moving it to, I'm not telling you to, I'm not going to push you or make you or have you do it on this call, but just consider moving to the neutral zone where you could be free, fertile, famous, pick another word. But you might consider doing something with one of these things. Just move that one thing, get your pencil or pen and write that thing in the middle territory there, neutral zone, okay? And save that for later. Put your pen, put the paper aside, that's for later, okay? That's the end of that exercise. Okay, we can all take a breath, right? Okay, everyone take a breath, right? Breathe in. I know that was excruciating, even for me. And remember, here's where we're heading, okay? Into our breakthroughs, okay? Some of us long for the good old days. Things worked a certain way back then, and I learned a lot back then. It was okay back then, and it had its challenges, but I miss a couple things about back then. And then a lot of us got a lot of satisfaction and success in the modern work world. It was bright, vibrant, lots going on. It was agreeable, and, here we all are. Our modern work world got us to where we are today, right? And then we got what's in our current face, right? The future of our work from our laptops or our tabletops or whatever, remote work, a lot of more virtual work or blended work and stuff like that too. So that's the big part of a lot of our futures too, okay? So keep that in mind. You want to keep what worked from the past, recognize what works for you, and then also anticipate what's ahead of us, okay? And here's where that challenge is going to come into play. A three-part saying here. And this is the breaking point, moving into the near end of our presentation. Be strong enough to stand alone. Be smart enough to know when you need help. And be brave enough to ask for it.
Ollie.
Okay, so let's go over that again. So again, you're intelligent, you're successful, you're independent, you're an American, I'll even assert. That's how we grew up, right? I can do this myself. I can find a way. I can do this. I know I can. That was in our fiber. That's what we were told as little kids, right? Or the challenges we had through those decades. And there's a point where you don't know everything, and you know that you don't know everything. You know that, right? So are you at that point yet? Like, are you getting the results that you need? Are you getting the results you want, that you're striving for? That's a yes or no question. And what are you doing about it? If you can't do it alone, what's left? Going to other people. Okay, now I kind of poked fun at this, Christine, and I poked fun at this earlier, but this is kind of like the direction we're going. This is comfort zone stuff. This is about being brave enough to ask for somebody saying, look, I know we don't know each other well, but we attend these Tuesday calls, I just, I'm feeling a little brave and I'm calling you, kind of checking in. Like, I don't even know what to ask or what to say, but we just know each other from the screen. I just want to kind of get to know you a little better. And maybe there's something I can help you with. Maybe you can help me somehow. I don't know. I'm uncomfortable here. I'm just making a call. This is new for me.
Once you do that, get that in your job search toolkit or your networking toolkit or your business toolkit, whatever it happens to be, it gets easier. I promise it gets easier because they're in the same boat.
And whatever the words are for you, those were my words that just came out in that second. You may have completely different words, tone, choice of, request or, intent or whatever. But there's this force, I'm going to make something happen, right? But now you're finding out it's beyond your reach, your strength, your power. And now you're in the world of community and communications. That's where stuff's going to get done that you can't do by yourself, okay? And here are those three things again: being strong, smart, another three-part thing: being strong enough to stand alone, smart enough to know when you need help, and brave enough to ask for help. That's a three-legged stool of your job search, right? And we have the people, the companies, and we have the professional skills. Here's another three-legged stool. You and your job search, right? If you're carrying these three things off, you'll be a happy camper, a happy seeker, right? Remember the little sabotage? Remember our blind spots? If those blind spots cut one or more of these legs, you're not going to be a happy camper. And your job search isn't going to be satisfying. And it's not going to be successful. All three of these things need to be working. That's how you're going to elevate your job search to success, okay, and satisfaction. Especially for an extended dance version, right? If your job search is longer than you thought it was going to be, or you're hearing it's going to be, you want to absolutely have these three things working for you. Strong enough to know, to stand alone, smart enough to know where you need help, and brave enough to ask for it, okay? And in a real true sense, right? This is not new. This is not me. This is like how it works. This is an old proverb, old proverb. It's not new in Africa. It's an old wisdom through cross cultures, right? If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And for a 20th century, 21st century philosopher, wise, counsel, individuals can only do so much. Something, but not much. But organized groups can achieve a great deal. That's why there are companies. I'm not the village baker doing a one guy show. I'm a corporation. A corporation can do things that one individual can't, as far as baking bread for the world, right? And here's another meme I just saw in the last couple of weeks. I thought I'd stick it in here. So here's somebody standing on a bunch of ladders, right? Looking over the wall. Doesn't know how to use one ladder. One ladder could get them over the wall, right? So it doesn't matter how many resources you have. If you don't know how to use them, it's not going to be enough. So again, we're looking at all of our resources and how to use them. And here in a very literal sense. In a very literal sense, like Christine's sense of helping each other up over the wall of this job search, okay? So in suggesting these things, I know I'm stirring up a lot of water, okay? I'm kind of leaving you on like not like concrete, finite, lesson 1, 2, 3, tips and techniques kind of thing. It's like—
You're saying it, Mark, not me, so it's all good.
I know, this open-ended, like I'm ripping the Band-Aid off, okay? So closing, you're getting close to the end, last couple slides here. Your comfort zone, right? When it starts to feel a certain way, not just my comfort zone, not just my job search, but it starts to feel or you're experiencing it a certain way, come off mute or type it in the chat. You start to feel this way. What is this expression? What is this of the 400 moods or 400
looks frustrated, little angry.
Anybody else? Angry? Anybody else? What's this one?
Confused and overwhelmed.
A bit confused and overwhelmed. Thank you. Yes, for sure. And what's this one? What's this mood?
Worried.
Hopeless. Okay.
Frustrated.
Worried, hopeless, frustrated. Oh gosh. Yeah. Okay. All those, right? Absolutely. Who's this one?
Puzzled.
Confused.
Puzzled, confused. Yeah. Okay. Good. Good. Okay. One more.
Anxious.
Stressed.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah. And the last one.
Sad.
Hopeless.
Yeah.
Hopeless.
Very much. Yeah. Very much.
I think we've all felt this way at some point.
It's the mix. That's the thing. These are just this handful, right? There's a whole bunch more that you could be experiencing. You may not even know what word to put to it, but if you're feeling that way, here's the thing again, right? The challenge is this is where the opening, not where I'm leaving you, but here's the opening for the next conversation, which I mentioned earlier. Okay, you want to be that happy job seeker with that three-legged job search strategy. Okay, so the last slide here. Attitude is everything. Now we're talking. I am leaving you with a cliche. Okay, so I don't mean to leave you with a cliche, but here's the cool thing. This is the coolest thing you're going to see today, and much more important than anything I've said in the last hour and a half. Okay, ready? So if we did cross over into mathematics, we did cross language and linguistics into mathematics, here's what you'd get. The word attitude, then we're saying is everything. It's 100%. Right? So if we break it out into its little components, remember we talked about 1 + 1 + 1 + 1? If we gave every letter its value in the alphabet, A is the first letter, so it gets 1. D gets 4, it's the fourth letter. E gets 5 points, right? We do that all the way through. What do you think we get? I know. Come on. Is that not the awesomest thing you've ever seen? Okay, so that's just like coincidence and happy, fun stuff. But if this is what you take away from today's time together, that would be a good start. Okay, so just to reinforce the point that attitude is everything, here's the math that proves it. All of you geometry people from 10th grade. Okay, so here's pencil and paper time. Pencil and paper, either on the same face that you wrote or the back of that piece of paper. Here are our not so final thoughts, okay? So before we start sharing and we close this conversation, open up the discussion, what are your highlights? What do you remember? What did have value for you today amongst all the talking that I gave you? What takeaways are you bringing with you? What insights did you see? What new ideas or lessons did you actually learn a lesson today? Do you have a new perspective on any angle of the job search or you in the job search? And are there new conversations like you're feeling, oh, I could do that. I wasn't going to do that, but I guess I could do that. Now I feel like I can do that. Any combination of these things, write those things down now because they're going to disappear. We're going to hang up and you're going to go back to your routine. Promise you. You may not remember anything, but those would be the entree to the next conversation, whether it's another presentation, another class, conversation with Christine or anything that'll move you into the next level of success in your job search, okay? Oh, and you see in the background here, the image in really faded. It's kind of like I pulled you through this conversation, I know. I just kind of like yanked you, grabbed you by the hand and brought you through this conversation, but a lot of participation. I saw a lot of nods and, good feedback while we were doing that. So there seems to be some interest and some insight here that you are getting that you will be taking away. And I'd like to hear a little more about that now with whatever time Christine says we have left, okay?
We have some time left for questions, comments, concerns. Anybody? I see nothing in the chat box. Okay. I don't know if everyone's shy or prefers to talk. Don't think about it too long. Just pick one and start today.
Yeah, Barbara's got her hand up. And listen, I know, also acknowledge, I know this was a lot. I talked a lot, gave you a lot of stuff, like a fire hose kind of expression, right? But just pick it apart in little pieces and little one slide at a time or one thought at a time. Christine, what do you got? I mean, Barbara, what do you got?
What I was going to say is I can't visualize things. So a lot of what you said was a new perspective and it's just tremendous. To pick it apart, I had to go through the whole thing, but just your visuals really helped me cement your ideas. It was fabulous.
Okay. I'm so glad to hear that. Thank you. That's good for you. Good. Thanks, Barbara. Yeah, Teresa.
I just want to say thank you. First of all, it was a very informative session. Yeah. And I work with people trying to help them get jobs. And you gave me a lot of good tools to help them visualize where they're going and what they're going to get out of it. So I thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. That's great to hear. Good. Spread the word. If you got one nugget, you can share that with somebody else. That's awesome. That's all the success we have.
I love that, Teresa. Thank you so much for that feedback because it's so important just to pass on one thing that you learned to somebody else, let alone a group. That's great.
I would just add one thing too, Christine. I think people forget how creative they are. And as Mark indicated, if you sit with yourself, I rarely did this, but I think it's a really good practice. Tomorrow morning, Don't put anything on your schedule. Just sit in a nice room with a nice view. Let yourself think about what you could be doing that was different and creative, that could distinguish you in this job market in a different way than you have before. And I bet if you sit for an hour or 2 hours, you'll be able to fill a paper up with a number of new ideas, and then just have the bravery to try a few of them and see what kind of results you get from it.
Yeah,
Good suggestions.
That's not a common thing either, Lisa. And to actually come up with something new for me, it takes something. So like you're suggesting, find a place, a time, an environment, and just kind of let it go. Just kind of let it rip and kind of cross the line. And what would those one thing or a few things be? That's a great idea. Thank you. Thanks, Lisa.
I liked in the beginning, Mark, that you had talked about stepping out of your comfort zone and doing the same thing day in and day out might not be yielding you the results. And a modern thing that I share with people is using Siri. Sometimes Siri will tell you to go in one direction to get there. Sometimes there's construction on the road and you have to reroute your directions. Or if you made a left turn by mistake, maybe you're supposed to make a right turn, or maybe you want to go the scenic route and make lots of stops along the way. You're still going to get there, but maybe in a different amount of time, because there's a couple different ways to get to your ultimate destination, your strategic goal. So I love that you brought something else in for a visualization.
Another whole way. That's a great comparison and opportunity. What if you had a conversation with Siri, like, Siri, where should I go get a job?
I know, wouldn't that be great? She just told you.
Just listen to see what the answers would be. Or Siri, tell me something about company ABC.
Yeah.
Who knows? I don't know what that'll turn out to be.
Maybe you have to ask Alexa. I don't know.
Mark and Christine, here's one takeaway. I didn't know about Toastmasters until someone mentioned it today. So that's one of my takeaways.
Great group.
Is that all right?
Yes.
Yeah. And listen, I speak. I mean, I gave you my spiel today, but I stand in front of small groups and hundreds of people with a slide deck and hundreds script, for a whole week, and then I went to Toastmasters and I was like stumbling over myself, talking about myself. That's a whole different experience than delivering material, just doing the goods, right? So joining Toastmasters is no small feat and great rewards. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Anybody else have feedback or something they learned they would like to share? People are actually benefiting if you share. So.
Yeah, anybody from behind the names? Anybody want to jump into the conversation or type something in chat from behind your names? If you wrote one thing down, these things, highlights, takeaways, insights, and lessons, new perspectives and new conversations. If you wrote one thing down, let me see your hands or flash a screen or thumbs up, or you got something that you're taking away. Good. Okay, that's a lot of positive. Good. I'm glad to see that. Thank you.
Mark, it's Maria. I really appreciated the whole approach to VUCA and renaming those letters. That's what it's all about, a new perspective. I mean, you can go through life just using the VUCA words the way it means, instead of saying, oh no, I can rename this and it could be something different to me.
Yeah. And Maria, to that point, if that's what you're alluding to, you can even put your own words in there. VUCA 3.0. That's a very good point. I love that. Yes.
And doesn't that, Maria, tie in with that last slide of attitude? How you see things, a negative or a positive, right? Are you letting it control your life, or are you taking control of that situation?
Exactly. Half empty or half full.
You got it. You got it.
Yeah,
perfect.
You can even rename it. You could call it like a VUCA Maria .0, VUCA Joanne .0.
Yes.
VUCA, Deneen .0, whatever.
But thank you, Mark. Really,
you're welcome.
Good.
Okay, thanks, Maria. You're welcome. You're welcome. It's great to be with everybody today. Listen, great conversation. I know this was I use the expression fire hose, new stuff, off the wall stuff. I get it, and long-winded. I get it. I know. But if you have something you can take away, and you may it has to germinate, or like a little egg, kind of grow and then hatch you know, that, and it might take you going beyond your comfort zone to start talking about it with Christine or anybody here or anybody else. Then that would be like the baby step Christine mentioned, to kind of move yourself along. It doesn't have to be any grand gesture.
I love something somebody said to me last week, and I don't even know who it was, that when you are a farmer and you plant a corn seed, you're not expecting the full-grown corn stalk to appear tomorrow. You have to sow it, you have to nurture it and water it. And so all of these things, you're not going to find out whether it works or it doesn't work by doing it once or stepping out of your comfort zone right today. Growing and nurturing and keeping at it before you can make that choice. Does it work? Does it not work? Do I keep it in my comfort circle or do I try something new?
Yeah, and that's a lesson I'm still learning.
Yes.
Doing it now, not expecting it to just happen. And then weeks, months later, expecting something to happen that I didn't plant the seed for.
Yes.
Yeah, that's more like the ball always goes where you hit it, right? You get the results you produce.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you for attending.
Yeah,
I know you
everyone.
could have spent time somewhere else learning something new about job search, something different, and you chose to spend it here. So I really do appreciate that. And what a benefit for you to be able to listen to Mark and his perspective on job search and the suggestions, just to think of things in a different light. That's beneficial for you as well. So I hope you share this presentation with your friends that couldn't make it. That would be awesome.
Yeah. And I see the comments. I appreciate the comments in chat, which I'm seeing and I've saved. So appreciate your comments there too, which weren't spoken, but shared still.
I will be in touch with the recording link as well as the chat box, so everybody can connect with any LinkedIn invitations or emails or that kind of thing, the URLs that are in the chat box. So no worries, don't stress about that either. So
Mark, Christine, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Michael, you're welcome.
Thank you.
And everybody.
I'm really glad to see you guys, and have a great day. Enjoy some of that sun and take Lisa's advice. Take a few minutes and just contemplate your job search quietly in a different place, but get some fresh air. You'll feel better.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Take care.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.